Hi, I'm Arif Bakir. I'm a beginner student of sacred reality, philosophy, Gnosticism. And today we continue to explore into William Chittick's fascinating book, Science of the Cosmos, Science of the Soul. Today we're looking at chapter 2, which goes deeper into intellectual knowledge. In my last video, I introduced what intellectual knowledge was. So in today's video, we'll see, number 1, the 4 domains of intellectual knowledge. Number 2, how do we gain access to intellectual knowledge? Number 3, what are the few insights of those who actually received and gained access to this knowledge? And finally, a fascinating thought experiment that Professor Chittick does, that if a master of intellectual knowledge from the past were to come and view our current world today, what would he see? What would he experience? So, let's start with a recap. In our last video, we introduced what intellectual knowledge was. But to recap, what exactly is intellectual knowledge? Well, in the Islamic intellectual tradition, knowledge isn't about memorizing facts or reading books or earning degrees. Intellectual knowledge is something much deeper. It's about verifying and realizing the ultimate truth for yourself. Think about it this way. You can read about 1,000 descriptions of sunsets. You can see countless photos of sunsets. But until you stand before the setting sun yourself and seeing the fire that is going down and seeing the riot of colors of red and orange and yellow, it's about directly experiencing truth for yourself, by yourself. That's what intellectual knowledge is. Yeah, and if that's what intellectual knowledge is, what are its components? What does it consist of? Well, in the Islamic intellectual tradition, there are 4 major areas that seekers of intellectual knowledge focused on. Number 1, metaphysics, which is the study of the ultimate reality. Number 2, cosmology, which is how the universe works. Number 3, spiritual psychology, which is understanding the human soul. And number 4, ethics, which is how is this soul to interact with other souls and the cosmos as a whole. Let's go a bit deeper into each of these. First, metaphysics. Metaphysics in its truest meaning, not abstract philosophy. No. It's about understanding the ultimate reality. Or say it's about understanding God. And God is referred to as multitude of names. It's by understanding the being, the necessary, the real. Number 2, cosmology. And no, we're not talking about NASA here. This is about understanding where the cosmos, where the universe comes from and where is it going. Now, of course, it comes from God and is going back to God. It comes from the first and it goes back to the very first. But how does that happen? It's trying to understand not just how, not only is it about how does that happen, but why does it exist at all? Thirdly, spiritual psychology. This is about understanding the human soul itself. Who are we really? How can we develop our full potential? How can a human become everything that a human should and must become if it is to be fully human. It's the ultimate owner's manual for your soul. And finally, ethics. Now, ethics isn't just about rules of good behavior. It's about how to align your soul with the universe itself. How do I train my soul to follow my higher intellect? How do I develop real virtues, truth, honor, justice, and not just good habits? Now, here's the big deal. The masters of intellectual tradition studied these subjects completely different than how we study subjects today. The masters of intellectual tradition had this concept called tahqiq. What does tahqiq mean? It means you haven't really learned something unless you verified it, realized it for yourself. Just another example. What if I told you, chocolate, it tastes great. It tastes divine. You might believe me, but truly, until you've tasted that chocolate for yourself, you don't really know it, do you? Now, here's what the ancient intellectuals have a challenge for us. The masters of the intellectual tradition would look at their scientific community and say, wait a minute, all this scientific knowledge that you are so proud of and rely on, you guys are just following all of it because you've been told so. You're just following it via authority. You're just following it via consensus. You're just doing it because someone told you so. And you know what? Let's play that out. They kind of have a point. I mean, think about it. How many of us have actually verified all the scientific facts that we follow for ourselves? When was the last time you personally proved that electrons exist? You keep talking about Einstein, don't you? Well, when was it that you personally verified Einstein's theory of relativity? You're basically taking these things on faith. You're just trusting the scientific community. I know what you're thinking. I can hear you right out. Yeah, Arif, wake up. You don't do it. You have peer reviews. You have empirical evidence. Yeah. But look, here is the twist. These ancient intellectuals would still argue that that's still sophisticated imitation. They'd say, hold on. I've got an analogy here. They'd say we are like people following a giant Congo line. Each one following the person in front of us, convinced that we are heading in the right direction. But none of us, even the person at the absolute front, actually knows the ultimate destination for his hand. These traditional intellectuals believe that true knowledge wasn't about collecting information or facts. It was about understanding for yourself your relationship with ultimate reality, or God, if you prefer that term. They believe that the more you understood the ultimate reality, the more you understood the sacred, the more human you become. Let me share something really powerful from the text. They believe that we are what we know, what we truly know from the depths of our soul. Not what we can Google, not what we can memorize, but what we truly understand at our core. How's that for perspective shift? The modern worldview, that's all about collecting data, external observations, consensus based on truth, material focus, external focus. Whereas the traditional intellectual view, that's about personal self-realization, internal verification, personal truth seeking and finding, and a higher spiritual focus. Now, Professor Chittick shares some incredible insights about this tradition. Those who actually go about seeking it, there's some realization that they experience. He goes into much more depth in his book, but I'm going to focus on just 3 deep concepts from what he has shared. Number 1, Tawheed, the principle of unity. Imagine everything in the cosmos, everything in existence has been connected to a single point, connected to the ultimate reality, connected to God. Everything comes from God and returns to this reality. Everything depends on this reality at every single moment. It's like every atom, every particle, every quark in the universe is constantly plugged into the cosmic power source. This isn't just some religious doctrine. This isn't dogma. It's a way of looking at the world. It's a way of understanding the true reality itself. Number 2, there are 2 words. Now here's where it gets interesting. Reality is split into 2 worlds: the visible physical realm and the invisible unseen world. The visible world is everything that we can see, touch. But according to the intellectual tradition, the physical world, what we can touch, is less real than the unseen, invisible world. The invisible world is the realm of spirit, light, intelligence, consciousness. It is more substantial than our actual physical world. It's like saying that the software is more real than the hardware. And given that the lower status, the subservient status of the physical world, the physical realm has no control over the spiritual realm, just as created things have no control over God. Thirdly, the third insight that seekers of the intellectual tradition have is of the unique human position. The most fascinating part is that in the whole cosmos, humans have a special place in this cosmic setup. We have been made in the divine image, and we have been taught all the names of the divine. So what does this mean? It means we have the potential to understand everything. The goal isn't just to be good people, it's about to awaken our intellect to its full potential and thereby be truly what we are destined to be and truly be fully human. Now, Professor Chittick goes deep into a beautiful thought experiment. He imagines that if we could, a true sage, a person who's truly awake, a medieval Islamic intellectual, let's call him Ibn Yaqzan. If he comes to our modern world, what would he see? What would he experience? Ibn Yaqzan. Now, what does this mean? What does this name mean, Ibn Yaqzan? The name Ibn Yaqzan actually means son of the awake. Pretty cool name, right? So, if Ibn Yaqzan were to come to our world today, instead of being impressed by our technology, he'd be horrified by our approach to knowledge. He'd look at our schools and he'd look at our university and see something completely different to what we do. Where we see progress, he'd see confusion. Where we see scientific advancement, he'd see spiritual regression. Why? Because he'd notice that we'd replaced direct experiential knowledge with endless layers of information and theory. He'd be amazed that we trust scientific consensus more than what our direct experience and understanding. He'd be shocked that we consider ourselves more advanced while being more disconnected from direct knowledge than ever before. So what have we learned today? Let's recap. As a summary of number one, intellectual knowledge isn't about information, isn't about data, it's about direct realization. Number two, the four domains shows us a complete picture of reality. Number three, Tahqiq reminds us that true knowledge must be personally verified. Everything is connected through divine unity. The invisible world is more real than the visible. Humans have a unique potential for complete understanding. All right. That was quite a journey, wasn't it? It's a lot to take in these 10, 12 minutes or so. However, if this struck a chord, do get a copy of Science of the Cosmos, Science of the Soul. Professor Chittick goes much more in depth, and there are much more realizations you'll get in reading this book for yourself. So yeah, that's all I have for this video. Till the next video, take care, keep reflecting, keep smiling. Goodbye.